Is KRCG 13 live at 5.
Israel is agreeing to humanitarian pauses in its fight against Hamas. Prior to this developing news, a group of Columbia demonstrators met with staff members of Senators Hawley and Schmitt, demanding an immediate Gaza ceasefire. Protesters urged Missouri senators to oppose the $14 billion in additional military funding to Israel that President Biden recently proposed. University of Missouri professor George Smith is a member of the group called Mid-Missourians for Justice in Palestine. Smith says the tragedy of 1,400 Israelis killed by Hamas terrorists does not justify the war crimes underway against the people of Gaza.
Well, we don't support terrorism, of course. We are not. We don't support Hamas. We do point out that Hamas's attacks, where they were dehumanizing.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush gathered with veterans to protest the violent cycle of destruction happening in the Middle East.
The veterans that we will hear from today are here not only because they know the impacts of war, but they know that without action and without a true anti-war movement, war will continue generation after generation. What do veterans want?
Ceasefire now.
When do veterans want it?
Now.
What do veterans want?
Ceasefire. There is no military solution to this violence. We cannot bomb our way to peace. We cannot kill our way to safety. Neither can Israel.
The rally came shortly after the White House announced that Israel agreed to daily 4-hour humanitarian pauses in the fighting in northern Gaza. Skylar Henry explains how it came to be and more about Israel's push to exterminate Hamas.
Palestinians are streaming south by the thousands, evacuating Gaza City, where Israel is tightening its grip on Hamas. Israel has agreed to daily 4-hour humanitarian pauses to allow Palestinians to move to safer territory. But the Prime Minister's office says this is not a ceasefire, which will only happen when the hostages seized in the October 7th rampage are released.
Right now, it's 32 days since then, and we don't have a sign of life from anyone.
The director of the CIA has been in Qatar participating in the negotiations. The U.S. believes as many as 10 Americans are among the more than 200 hostages.
We're hopeful things are moving along.
Deep in Hamas territory, Israeli soldiers are battling militants in dense urban neighborhoods. They say they're finding weapons stored and manufactured in residential buildings, including next to a child's bedroom. A U.S. official tells CBS News the humanitarian pauses are a baby step in the complicated process of freeing the hostages. President Biden said he'd asked the Israeli Prime Minister for longer.
Did you ask him to pause for 3 days to get the hostages out for that?
Yes. I've asked for even a longer pause for some of them.
After a month of Israeli airstrikes, a UN agency called Gaza's humanitarian needs colossal. Aid to the Strip has increased, but with hospitals damaged and the area desperately short on supplies, Italy is sending a hospital ship to be stationed off the coast to treat injured Palestinians. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Hamas says nearly 11,000 people have died in Gaza since the start of the war, but has not specified how many are militants versus civilians.